Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going deep into some pretty fascinating stuff. Islamic history and theology. Conspiracies and betrayals against the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him. You've sent us some really incredible source material, including excerpts from Tafseer Al-Qummi. And we're excited to unpack it all together, of course.
Right.
And see what we can learn from these accounts.
Absolutely.
So, our mission in this deep dive is to really explore the challenges and the betrayals that these absolutely pivotal figures faced, and how those events connect to broader themes in Islamic history and belief.
Right.
So are you ready to kind of jump in?
Let's do it. It's always fascinating to kind of delve into these narratives. They're often overlooked, even within Shia Islam, and see what kind of insights we can glean,
You mentioned that even the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, faced opposition. Right from the very beginning.
Yes, exactly. From the very start of his mission in Mecca, there were people there who actively sought to undermine his message and authority.
That's really intriguing. What's interesting to me is that a lot of people kind of associate the opposition to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, with that Meccan period. But you're suggesting it continued even after the Hijra.
Oh, yeah, that's right. What we see in the sources, particularly in Tafsir Al-Qummi, is that the opposition, it took different forms. It persisted throughout the Prophet's, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, life, and extended to Imam Ali, peace be upon him too.
This brings us to kind of a concept that's central to understanding these events, the covenant of Allah. Can you explain, maybe for our listeners, what this covenant is and its significance in the context of, the betrayals we're discussing?
The covenant of Allah with the prophets, ﷺ, as-salām, is essentially, it's a divine promise and a responsibility. It's bestowed upon those chosen individuals to guide humanity towards the truth. In the case of Imam Ali, peace be upon him, Shia tradition really emphasizes a specific covenant established at Ghadir Qum, where the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, declared Ali's divinely appointed authority.
So this event at Ghadir Qum essentially established Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as the rightful successor to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him.
Exactly. And what makes this so crucial, to understanding the betrayals, is that according to Tafsir Al-Qummi, some individuals, some groups rejected this divinely ordained covenant, leading to conflicts and attempts to usurp the rightful leadership.
It's incredible to think that this conflict over leadership, it started so early in Islamic history, like right at the very beginning.
It really is. And the consequences of these early disputes were significant, shaping the trajectory of the entire Muslim community for centuries to come.
Now, let's maybe delve into a specific example that illustrates these themes, the Battle of Uhud. This battle is often remembered as a military defeat for the Muslims. But you're suggesting there's more to the story.
There's a lot more to unpack here. The Battle of Uhud, as described in Tafsir Al-Qummi, not only reveals, strategic blunders, but it also kind of exposes deeper betrayals that directly undermine the Prophet's, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, authority, and by extension, the covenant of Allah.
Can you elaborate on those betrayals and what impact they had on the battle's outcome?
One of the most striking examples is the disobedience of the archers. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, had specifically instructed them to hold their position on the hill, no matter what.
Right.
However, many abandoned their post, lured by the prospect of spoils of war, leaving a critical flank exposed, which directly led to the Muslim army's vulnerability and their eventual defeat.
This raises an important question for me. How does the archers' disobedience in the Battle of Uhud specifically tie back to the idea of the covenant of Allah and Imam Ali's peace be upon him position?
That's a great question. It really gets to the heart of the matter. Remember, the covenant of Allah establishes a divinely ordained order of leadership, with Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as the rightful successor. By disobeying the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, who was, Imam Ali's, peace be upon him, appointed guide and mentor, the archers were essentially rejecting that very foundation of the divine order.
It's almost like their actions represent a microcosm of the larger resistance against the covenant of Allah.
Precisely. Their disobedience, it wasn't just a military mistake, it was symbolic. It was a symbolic rejection of the divine mandate. And that's what makes the Battle of Uhud so significant in understanding the broader themes of betrayal and conspiracy.
This incident really, really sheds light on
Yeah.
the complex interplay of faith, leadership, and human fallibility that shaped this critical period in Islamic history.
It really does. And it forces us to consider the consequences,
Yeah.
right, of those actions, not just in the immediate context of the battle, but in the larger kind of unfolding of events.
Speaking of consequences, another poignant example of the persecution faced by those loyal to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and the covenant of Allah, is the exile of Abu Dharr to Rabaza.
Abu Dharr's exile. It's a powerful illustration
Yeah.
of the challenges faced by those who dared speak truth to power, even within the early Muslim community.
Can you tell us a little bit about Abu Dharr and why his exile is so significant in this context?
Abu Dharr was known for his unwavering faith and his outspoken nature. He was a staunch supporter of both the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him. And he openly criticized those in authority, who he believed were straying from the true path of Islam, particularly those who had accumulated wealth and abused their power.
It sounds like his commitment to justice and his willingness to speak out made him a target.
Exactly. His criticisms, they challenged the status quo. They led to his eventual banishment to Rabaza, which is a desolate location where he lived out his days in isolation.
Abu Dharr's unwavering commitment, just being in the truth, even in the face of exile, it's truly inspiring. It reminds me of another story, one that kind of highlights the consequences of rejecting divine signs and those chosen to deliver them. The story of Prophet Salih, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and the she camel.
The story of Prophet Salih, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and the she camel. As described in the Quran, it serves as a powerful parable for the rejection of divine signs and the messengers of Allah.
Yes, I remember this story from my Islamic studies. The people of Thamud, they rejected the she camel, which is a miracle from Allah, leading to their ultimate destruction.
Yeah, and that's precisely the point. The story of Prophet Salih, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. It resonates so deeply with the experiences of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him, who also faced disbelief, rejection, and hostility from those who refused to acknowledge their divinely appointed roles.
It's almost like a cautionary tale,
Right.
warning against the dangers of arrogance, disbelief, and the consequences of turning away from the truth, which is a theme that seems to run throughout all the events we're discussing.
It's a timeless message that remains incredibly relevant, even today. The story. It prompts us to kind of reflect on our own actions, our own choices. Are we open to recognizing and accepting the signs of Allah? Or do we risk falling into those same traps of pride and disbelief as those who came before us?
So much to think about. Now, we've been referencing Tafsir Al-Qummi as a key source for understanding the Shia perspective on these events. But some of our listeners may not be familiar with this text. Can you shed some light on what makes Tafsir Al-Qummi so unique and so significant?
Tafsir Al-Qummi holds a special place within Shia Islam because it offers this unique chain of narration, tracing its interpretations of the Quran back to the Imams of Ahlul-Bayt, peace be upon them.
That direct connection to the Imams, peace be upon them, must make it a really valuable resource for understanding the Shia perspective.
Absolutely. And what's particularly relevant to our discussion today is that Tafsir Al-Qummi provides these detailed accounts of the events we've been exploring, offering insights into the conspiracies against the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, the betrayals during the Battle of Uhud, and the significance of the covenant of Allah.
It sounds like Tafsir Al-Qummi is an essential resource for anyone seeking to understand these historical and theological nuances.
It truly is. It's like a window into the minds and hearts of those who lived through these pivotal events and who were entrusted with preserving the true teachings of Islam.
So much of what we've discussed so far highlights the complexity and the challenges faced by the early Muslim community, even which the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, established the religion of Islam.
You're right. And while we've seen the consequences of betrayal and disobedience, it's equally important to remember those who remain steadfast in their loyalty to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him, even in the face of opposition.
Their stories must hold valuable lessons for us today, especially in navigating the complexities of our own time.
They absolutely do. By understanding their unwavering commitment to truth and justice, we can find inspiration and guidance for our own journeys of faith.
This deep dive is already revealing so much about the intricate tapestry of events that shaped, early Islamic history. I'm eager to keep exploring these narratives with you and uncover even more kind of hidden gems.
Me too. There's so much more to delve into, and I think our listeners will be truly captivated by what we discover next.
And we'll do just that in just a moment, right after a quick word from our sponsors.
Looking forward to continuing this fascinating conversation.
We're back, and I'm still kind of reeling from that story about Abu Dharr. It's incredible to see how these events, these early events in Islamic history, they resonate so powerfully even today.
It is fascinating, isn't it? You know what strikes me is how Tafseer Al-Qummi, it doesn't just, narrate these historical incidents, but it uses them to kind of illuminate these deeper theological concepts. It's like it's prompting us to ask, what's the greater significance? What can we learn from these trials and tribulations that were faced by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him?
Exactly. It's not just about recounting the events. It's about extracting deeper meaning and lessons for us as believers. I'm curious, what are some of those key theological themes that emerge from Tafsir Al-Qummi's interpretation of these conspiracies and betrayals?
One of the most prominent themes is the concept of divine testing. Tafsir Al-Qummi really emphasizes that these trials weren't just random occurrences. They were divinely ordained tests of faith, of resilience, particularly for those who were, chosen to lead.
That makes you think, doesn't it? It's like a reminder that facing challenges is part of the human experience, and even more so for those who are entrusted with guiding others.
Absolutely. And the way that Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him, navigated those tests, it really showcases their unwavering commitment to Allah's message and their strength in upholding the truth even when it was difficult.
And that steadfastness, that serves as an example for all of us, showing us how to face our own trials with grace and unwavering faith.
Precisely. Now, another key theme that emerges is the importance of recognizing and adhering to divinely appointed leadership. Tafsir Al-Qummi consistently emphasizes the unique station of Imam Ali, peace be upon him, as the rightful successor to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, appointed by Allah. And it really highlights the consequences that were faced by those who disregarded this divine mandate.
Right. The covenant of Allah as established at Hijri is such a central part of this narrative.
Exactly. And by highlighting the betrayals and conspiracies against Imam Ali, peace be upon him, Tafsir Al-Qummi reinforces the Shia belief in his divinely ordained authority and the importance of following his guidance.
It's about understanding the continuation of divine leadership through the Ahlul-Bayt, peace be upon them. This reminds me of something you touched on earlier, the concept of rajat, or, the return of certain figures.
Ah, yes, a fascinating concept indeed. Tafsir Al-Qummi, in its commentary on Surah An-Nisa, verse 41, quotes Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, peace be upon him, saying, "By Allah, they will be shown their deeds, the good and the bad, until they recognize each other."
That's a powerful statement. So it's not just about earthly justice, but a more profound, a more comprehensive reckoning in the hereafter.
Indeed. The implications are profound.
Yeah.
If our actions are still witnessed, even after death, by those who are divinely appointed to guide us, it adds another layer of accountability to our choices.
It makes you think about the long-term consequences of our actions, not just in this life, but potentially beyond. What's fascinating is that Tafsir Al-Qummi connects these historical accounts to these broader theological themes. It's prompting us to consider their implications for our own lives.
You're absolutely right. These narratives aren't just stories from the past. They serve as these living lessons that can help us gain a deeper understanding of ourselves and our relationship with the divine.
Speaking of lessons, we've talked a lot about the betrayals, the negative actions, but it's equally important to acknowledge those who remain loyal. To the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him, their stories must hold valuable lessons for us today.
You raise a crucial point. Tafsir Al-Qummi highlights the unwavering faith and the steadfastness of those who recognize the divinely ordained leadership of the Ahlul-Bayt, peace be upon them, even when it meant going against the grain and facing immense opposition.
Are there any specific individuals or groups mentioned in Tafsir Al-Qummi who exemplify this unwavering loyalty?
Certainly. Individuals like Ammar Yasir and Salman al-Farsi, they stand out as shining examples of those who remain steadfast in their support of Imam Ali, peace be upon him, even when faced with persecution and slander.
It takes immense courage and conviction to stand up for what's right, especially when you're surrounded by opposing viewpoints. Their stories are truly inspiring.
Indeed, their loyalty reminds us that even amidst division and conflict, truth prevails. It underscores that crucial role of the Ahlul-Bayt, peace be upon them, in preserving the message of Islam and guiding believers towards the straight path.
The events we've been discussing, while historical, they clearly have lasting ramifications. Did these early instances of betrayal and power struggles shape the trajectory of the Muslim community in the long term?
Without a doubt, the actions we've discussed, they had a deep and lasting impact on Islamic history. The rejection of divinely appointed leadership and the emergence of these internal conflicts unfortunately paved the way for the divisions and sectarianism that continue to affect the Muslim world, even today.
So these early betrayals had these ripple effects, extending far beyond their immediate context.
Yeah. Yes, they contributed to the fragmentation of the Muslim community, the rise of differing interpretations, and this ongoing struggle to uphold justice and unity. It's a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked ambition and the human inclination towards division and conflict.
It underscores the importance of seeking unity and understanding based on the true teachings of Islam and the guidance of the Ahlul-Bayt, peace be upon them, especially in navigating the challenges that we face today.
Indeed. By understanding the complexities of our history, we can work towards a more just and compassionate future, guided by the enduring principles of Islam.
Our conversation today has been incredibly enlightening. We've uncovered these hidden layers of meaning within early Islamic history, the struggles for power, the fight for truth.
We've only just scratched the surface. These narratives offer so much to contemplate, and I believe our listeners will find immense value in exploring these events further.
Before we wrap up, I want to go back to the idea of rajat and the concept that our deeds are presented to the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him, even after their passing.
A concept that invites deep contemplation indeed.
Now imagine, if this awareness extends beyond individual actions, what if entire historical movements and ideologies are also subject to this kind of scrutiny? How might that impact our understanding of responsibility, both individually and collectively, for the course of history?
A thought-provoking question. It challenges us to consider the profound interconnectedness between the past, the present, and the future, and the enduring significance of our choices.
Indeed. It seems that delving into these conspiracies and betrayals, it's brought up as many questions as it has answers.
That's the beauty of exploring history and theology. It's a continuous journey of discovery.
It's been an absolute privilege to delve into these narratives with you.
The pleasure has been all mine.
We'll be back next time with another deep dive, but until then, keep exploring. We're back, and this whole deep dive has really made me reconsider how I view Islamic history. The events we've discussed, the betrayals, the struggles, they're not just stories from the past, but living lessons. They speak to us even today.
Absolutely. What's been particularly striking to me is how Tafseer Al-Qummi presents these events, not as these isolated incidents, but as part of this larger narrative about the struggle to uphold truth and justice, even within the Muslim community.
Yeah, it really underscores the idea that establishing and preserving a just society, even one that's founded on divine revelation, isn't a simple or straightforward process. There were constant challenges, both from external forces and from within.
And that's where the significance of the covenant of Allah and the role of the Ahlul-Bayt, peace be upon them, becomes so essential despite the opposition, the betrayals. There was this continuous thread of divinely appointed leadership striving to guide the community towards the right path.
And it's fascinating to see how even in the face of such adversity, faces like Abu Dharr remain so steadfast in their commitment to the truth. It begs the question: what can we learn from their example, especially in our own times, which are filled with their own unique challenges.
That's a question worth pondering. I think, Locke, the most powerful takeaways from this deep dive is the importance of critical thinking and discernment. We live in an age where information and misinformation is so readily available, and it's more important than ever to develop the ability to kind of sift through it all and seek out the truth.
So it's not just about being informed, but about being thoughtful and discerning in how we engage with information, especially when it comes to our faith, and understanding Islamic history.
Precisely. And I think that's where resources like Tafseer Al-Qummi become so invaluable. They offer a different perspective, one that's rooted in the traditions and teachings of the Ahlul-Bayt, peace be on them, and can enrich our understanding of these crucial historical and theological concepts.
This deep dive has definitely been a journey of discovery for me, and I hope it has been for our listeners as well. It's challenged some of my assumptions about early Islamic history, and made me realize how much more there is to learn and to explore.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? It's a continuous process of learning, of questioning, and deepening our understanding.
As we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with a thought that's been swirling in my mind. Throughout our conversation, we talked about Rajat and how our deeds, both good and bad, are presented to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, and Imam Ali, peace be upon him. But what if we take that a step further?
I'm intrigued. Where are you going with this?
Well, what if it's not just individual actions that are being witnessed and judged, but entire historical movements, systems of thought, ideologies? What if everything we build, the structures of power, the social norms, the legacies we leave behind, what if all of that is being weighed and measured against the standards of divine justice? That's
a profound thought. It really challenges us to consider the long-term consequences of our choices, not just on an individual level, but on a collective societal scale.
Exactly. It makes you wonder about the accountability we bear, not just for our own actions, but for the systems we create, the inequalities we perpetuate, the injustices we allow to flourish.
It's a humbling realization, and one that I think speaks to the heart of what this deep dive has been about. It's not just about revisiting the past, but about using it to illuminate the present and guide us towards a more just and compassionate future.
So as we delve deeper into these narratives of conspiracies and betrayals, we find that they're not just stories confined to history books, but reflections of our own struggles, our own choices, and our collective responsibility to create a world that aligns with the principles of truth, justice, and divine guidance.
Beautifully said. I hope this deep dive has inspired our listeners to continue their exploration of these crucial aspects of Islamic history and theology.
And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive. Thank you for joining us on this journey. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep seeking knowledge.